Hi, this is the second of two videos on piecewise functions or piecewise defined functions. In this video, we're going to model a real-life situation with a piecewise function. So that just means it's a word problem where we're given a description of a real-life situation, and then we have to come up with a mathematical way of representing that situation. So the situation we're given is this. It's a cell phone plan. In the first paragraph, it describes the plan and all the charges that you're going to get. And then in the second paragraph, it tells us what we have to do. It says we have to write a piecewise defined function that describes the amount a cell phone user will pay, C, as a function of the number of gigabytes of data they use, D, over the course of a month. So we're looking for a function C of D that represents the first paragraph that we're gonna break it up and figure out what it says. And the last thing it says is that we can write our intervals using either interval notation or as inequalities. And usually we use inequalities when we write down piecewise defined functions. So that's what we're going to use. All right, so now let's read the description closely, the description of the cell phone plan, and try to figure out how many pieces we need for this function. So in the first paragraph, it says the cell phone plan charges $15 a month for unlimited calls and text messages. So that's a flat monthly fee that everyone pays, whether they use their phone or not. You make no calls, and send no texts, and you're still going to pay $15 that month. But then it also says that on top of that $15 a month, you're going to pay $7 per gigabyte of data that you use. So $15 a month for everyone, and then the amount of data they use increases their bill. And it says assume that fractional values of a gigabyte are prorated according to this rate. All that means is that if you use a half a gigabyte, you're not going to be charged $7 for half a gigabyte. You'll be charged $3.50, half of $7. But then the last sentence says, if a user uses more than 12 gigabytes of data during their monthly billing cycle, they're not going to be charged more than the cost of the first 12 gigabytes. And that's kind of good, because that just means there's a cap on how much you're going to pay every month. We know there's a minimum, $15 a month minimum every month, but now we also see there's a cap. 13 gigabytes costs the same as 12 gigabytes. 45 gigabytes costs the same as 12 gigabytes. That sounds like a good deal to me. All right, so this also looks like we're probably going to have two pieces, right? The first piece is for the people who use less than 12 gigabytes in a month. And then the second piece is everybody else, the people who go over 12 gigabytes. What is their bill going to look like? So let's organize the information. Remember, a definition of a piecewise function, or piecewise definition of a function, is sort of like a table. We have a column for the rules, and then a column for the pieces of the domain that those rules apply to. So we said we've got two pieces. So let's set things up. C of D is going to have two pieces. And so it's going to have piece 1 and piece 2. This is our table. And so those are the rows in our table. The columns are going to be the rules followed by the pieces of the domain. Okay, so we're going to write down a rule and the piece of the domain that rule applies to. So the domain is easy. The first part we can do. We know that the domain is broken up into data less than 12 gigabytes and data more than 12 gigabytes. And so you're never going to use a negative number of gigabytes. So the first piece of the domain, D, is going to be greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 12, the first 12 gigabytes of data. Then the second piece of the domain is going to be D strictly greater than 12 gigabytes. So everybody else, all the people that go over 12 gigabytes. So now what are the rules that apply to each of these pieces? Each piece gets its own rule. So the first piece, the D between 0 and 12, that is going to be $15 a month, that flat fee, plus, so it's 15 plus $7 per gigabyte. And remember, D is the number of gigabytes, so $7 per gigabyte means 7 times D. So the rule is 15 plus 7D. That's the first 12 gigabytes. And then the second rule, everybody else, well, it said it's not going to exceed the cost of just 12 gigabytes. So all we have to do is calculate how much 12 gigabytes costs. And so we're going to do the cost of 12 gigabytes of data is going to be 15 plus 7 times 12 gigabytes. And so that turns out to be 15 plus 84, or $99. So if you go over 12 gigabytes, it doesn't matter how far over 12 gigabytes, you're just going to pay $99 that month. So the rule for piece 2 is just 99. So this is what our function looks like. So we can now just say C of D is equal to 15 plus 7D when D is between 0 and 12, and it's 99 when D is greater than 12. And we're done.